Howdy my totally tubular gamers, and we're back with, you guessed it, another ranking video, and today we are talking Pikmin. Yes, it is time to talk Pikmin, the real-time strategy puzzle series created by Shigeru Miyamoto and put out by Nintendo. Now, Pikmin is definitely one of the more iconic franchises created by Nintendo, and it's still very much alive even nowadays. If you somehow aren't familiar, it's the games that are about directing a horde of plant-like creatures known as the Pikmin in order to collect items by destroying obstacles, avoiding hazards, and fighting the local fauna that is hazardous to not only the main character, but the Pikmin as well. These games are beloved for just their atmosphere, the music, the vibes, how creative they are, how interesting the gameplay is, and just different from most games. The strategy, the puzzles, the Pikmin themselves, the worlds you go through, it's all really great stuff. Now, a couple years back, I did talk about Pikmin. I talked about Pikmin 1, 2, 3, and Hey Pikmin, but with the release of Pikmin 4, I thought I'd update my list a little bit. My order certainly has changed a little bit, and now adding Pikmin 4 into the mix, yeah, the list has gotten mixed up quite a bit. So, you know, we're going to be looking at the 4 main games and Hey Pikmin, giving them all little reviews, ranking them worst to best. My thoughts haven't changed too much on some of the other games, so a little reuse, recycle here and there. But yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's see how all these games stack up against each other. So what do I think is the weakest of the Pikmin games? It's probably pretty obvious. The weakest is easily Hey Pikmin, a action-adventure 2D platformer released for the 3DS in 2017. Now, if you couldn't tell from that basic description I just gave, Hey Pikmin is not like the main series at all. It is also the least favorite of the Pikmin series by most accounts, due to it being so different from the main games. The plot, at the very least, is very similar to most Pikmin games. Olimar's flying in his ship, he crashes onto an unknown planet, and has to get his ship back in working order, has the Pikmin join him, and must collect something. In this case, it's known as the Sparklium. Now, when it comes to the gameplay, obviously the biggest change is the perspective. The game is now in a 2D perspective. There's also a lot more platforming, puzzle solving, and much less of any strategic elements on hand here. Some stuff is very similar to the main games. You still find Pikmin out in the world, you call them with the whistle, you can throw them all over the place, and use them for some basic puzzles. But the actual act of doing it is different. Since it is on the 3DS, you do have to use the touchscreen. You touch anywhere on the touchscreen to throw the Pikmin, and I really dislike it when games make you just hold the 3DS for hella long and touch the touchscreen everywhere. But aside from that, there is actual platforming in this game. Olimar kind of has like a little jetpack, and he can use the pink Pikmin to fly as well. And you will have to do a fair amount of platforming in this game. Olimar is also incredibly slow in this game. Like, geez, man, he moves really slow. Like, in the old games, I thought it was a decent enough speed, but this game, he moves real slow. And then you also get to explore around these areas, go in the nooks and the crannies, and try to collect all the collectibles and find stuff, and that's really it for the gameplay. It is very basic, and frankly, it's just boring. And really, that's just my biggest issue with the game is relatively boring and benign, and really just fails to engage the player, in my opinion. Like, none of these puzzles are even close to challenging. They all feel like they were made for elementary school students. Combined with the sluggish movement and relatively sluggish controls, like, this game's pacing is just shot, and then they want you to replay these levels over and over to find new stuff. Like, no. This game is too boring for its own good, and too just basic for anything else, and it's a really mediocre experience, and I have no problem saying to absolutely skip this game. There is a reason this game was forgotten about pretty much from the moment it came out. Like, barely anybody talked about it when it came out, and even less people talk about it now, and there's a good reason. And so here we have Pikmin 3, which is now available for the Switch as Pikmin 3 Deluxe. And thank goodness, I wasn't big on using the gamepad with this game on the Wii U, and now you don't gotta use that gamepad at all. The game still takes place on the mysterious planet, but you don't play as Olimar or Louie. You play as Alf, Brittany, and Charlie, 3 Kopai who have come to this planet looking for food. You see, on the Kopai homeworld, where all of them are from, they're having a famine because they did not do any planning and a booming population. So they've gone to other planets looking for food, and this mysterious planet, well, it's got a lot of food, that's for sure. Edible food. And don't worry, they come across the other Pikmin characters, it's all well and good, but that's the general setup as you are dropped into these environments, and instead of looking for treasure or ship parts, you're looking for food, you're looking for fruit, you're looking for vegetables. It's pretty sick. The general gameplay though is pretty similar to the other two games. It really feels like it just builds on top of it. Now you have 3 playable characters and you can have them all go do their own thing, allowing you to really strategize what you want to do in each day and how you want to go across each challenge and trial and task. And that's really what a lot of the game is they throw a bunch of new stuff at you that weren't in the other Pikmin games, but they also give you new Pikmin to deal with these tasks. There are 2 new Pikmin in the game. We have the gray-colored rock Pikmin, which can destroy tough barriers and are immune to being crushed by heavy objects, effectively replacing the purple Pikmin. And we have the pink-colored winged Pikmin, which can attack airborne enemies, carry items through the air, and travel over the water. And naturally, with new Pikmin, they're able to create new puzzles and challenges for you to figure out, and I gotta say, when it comes to the levels in this game, I don't think they're as great as Pikmin 2's, but I think they are really solid enough, and the game does still have a fair amount of replayability, where you can get the food in a different order, or sometimes you can even get it different ways, but it does have that replay factor that Pikmin 1 also really had. They also do bring the time limit back. It's nowhere near as strict as the first games. All you have to do to extend the time limit is just get more fruit, and as long as you're able to get a couple pieces of fruit every day, or even like one really every day, you will be more than fine. Trust me, you will be fine. It's not really it doesn't really add any pressure or give a sense of urgency or that hurry mentality. It's just kind of there to make sure you're not messing around, I guess. And obviously, when it comes to the presentation, this game looks incredible. I thought it looked great on the Wii U. It was maybe the best looking Wii U game, and the game looks great on Switch. It looks great even nowadays. Like, the world looks great, the character models are nice, the frame rate's always good. I really love the presentation and the world of Pikmin 3. I think it is just as strong as 1 and 2, and it gives off great vibes. The game also offers a challenge mode similar to Pikmin 2, and this is where you'll find the real challenge of the game, as Pikmin 3 is pretty easy, especially if you played 1 and 2, and then the Switch version even adds some new challenges with Olimar, which is cool. The challenge mode was fun. There's also multiplayer, but I haven't really touched that. And all in all, I still think Pikmin 3 is a great game. I still think it's absolutely worth playing, and I think that everyone should at least try it, especially if you have any fond memories of Pikmin 1 and 2. And here we have the original Pikmin releasing all the way back in 2001 for the GameCube. Obviously a ton of nostalgia. Played this game back 15 plus years ago, but still have no problem coming back and playing it nowadays, as it is still a fantastic strategy game, and there are very few games like it. The plot of the game is pretty easy to understand. You play as Captain Olimar, this tiny little dude who's exploring the galaxy in his rocket ship, and he gets hit by an asteroid and lands on an unknown planet. Once he awakes on the unknown planet, his rocket ship is basically completely destroyed, and he needs to find all 30 parts to the rocket ship in order to leave the planet. The planet, though, does not actually have any oxygen. However, Olimar's suit has 30 days worth of oxygen, so he better get a move on to find all of his rocket ship parts to leave. But he does gain assistance in the form of these small little creatures known as the Pikmin, of the red, blue, and yellow variety. And that's the general gist of the game, is that you have to explore this big, uninhabitable planet with your Pikmin trying to find all your rocket ship parts. And you know, there's a lot of challenges and trials that lay ahead of you to get those rocket ship parts. First off, I want to say the setting and the atmosphere and general vibe of Pikmin is just fantastic. You really feel like you've gone to another world. It's really intoxicating. The music's great. The world, it's just really well done. And playing this game, it's actually pretty interesting and pretty different from just about every other strategy game. As Olimar, you command up to 100 Pikmin at once with your whistle and have them do a variety of different actions, whether it's killing things, destroying things, building things, or carrying things. You do have them do a ton of different actions in order for you to find those ship parts. Olimar can also throw them to get to hard to reach places, and he can move all of them around as one single unit as well. Like I mentioned earlier, you do have a time limit. You do only have 30 in-game days to find all the rocket ship parts, or else Olimar, he will die. And so while this does create some stress and a sense of urgency, it's not all that urgent, as there are a bunch of times where you can get multiple parts in a single day. And one reason you're able to do that is thanks to the game's incredibly intuitive and great level design. The level design in Pikmin is actually really well done, as it not only is really intuitive for the Pikmin and strategy games in general, but it really leads to some free-flowing design where it allows you to take different routes if you're replaying the game. And thanks to the game's 30 days and general urgency, hurry-up kind of nature of it, it is very replayable. The original Pikmin is actually one of the most replayable games, not only on the GameCube, but in general, in my opinion, of course. But also because of the 30 days, the game isn't exactly that long either, and if you know what you're doing, you can really finish this game quick, like maybe an hour or two quick, like really fast. And I've finished it just about that fast because I freaking love this game. I've played through this game tons of times. Despite all the nostalgia and fond memories and all that, I still think the game is actually superb. Like, it's still expertly designed, it has an incredible world, it has some fantastic enemy design also, and it's just all around a great game.
And so here we have the latest in the Pikmin series, Pikmin 4, releasing here for the Switch in 2023. Now, I wasn't sure if we were going to even get this game at this point. I was like, man, is a new one coming to the Switch? But hot damn! Like, don't get me wrong, I expected the game to be good. Pikmin's always had a certain baseline of good, but this game, oh, it's really good, and it's a really good contender for best Pikmin game of them all. So when it comes to the game's plot, you know, it's nothing you haven't really seen before. Olimar is exploring a planet and his ship gets stranded. However, a rescue team comes after him this time, but then they end up getting stranded, and so you create your own custom character to go save everybody on this planet. There's actually a little bit more story here, especially compared to the other Pikmin games, and I think it's actually a welcome change. It fleshes out not only the world of Pikmin, but this planet and the characters a little bit. I give this a thumbs up. I think the plot is more than just a way to set up the game, but it's also a good way to set up the game. When it comes to the gameplay, it's nothing too crazy different from the other Pikmin games. It just feels even more refined from what you've done in the past. And if this is your first Pikmin title, it's a great introduction game as well. Like the other Pikmin games, you'll be exploring these rather large locations, looking for a bunch of items, defeating enemies, making more Pikmin, and then going into caves and exploring even more. You'll be playing as your custom created character with an interesting character creator, I'll just say, and you actually get joined by the dog in this game. This dog known as Ochi, he kicks some serious ass. Like, this dog is not messing around and adds a bunch of variety and just wrinkles to the gameplay. Not only can he jump, which is just huge for the Pikmin series, but he can swim in water, he can charge, and he can control the Pikmin. So basically he's another captain, and when it comes to exploring in this game, this might be the best exploration that the series has ever seen. Not only are these environments huge, but they are filled to the brim with treasure. There are rewards in nearly every nook and cranny. You'll want to explore as much as you can. You want to dig everything up. You want to see everything that there is here. And the game absolutely rewards you for it. The exploration is just excellent. Then there's a bunch of puzzles thrown in as well. And these puzzles actually get really interesting. And they really do utilize the mechanics that not only Pikmin 1 established, but some of the new stuff that's established here. Of course, you know, you have your standard Pikmin, the red, the blue, the yellow, and then the other Pikmin that showed up in the prior games, you know, purple, white, rock, flying. But this game introduces a new type of Pikmin, the Ice Pikmin, where you can freeze stuff and destroy frozen barriers. The Ice Pikmin are actually a great addition, and they have some really interesting puzzles with them. I think they're really well done. And then during the night missions, you get the Glow Pikmin. Yes, you actually get to do stuff at night for the first time in a Pikmin game. These missions are totally different, where you're not exploring everything. This is kind of like a tower defense mission where you have to defend this base, only it's not from like a tower defense perspective, and it's actually fun and well implemented. This is great. The core gameplay though, during the day that 95% of the game is just excellent. You'll be exploring these levels, looking for treasure, going into caves, finding more treasure, finding people to save, doing some of these battles against other captains, which I think is a great addition and a great use of the multiplayer from like Pikmin 2 and 3 put in the single player context. And all of this just leads to a fantastic moment-to-moment gameplay experience. But what really blows me away is just the amount of content in this game. How big this game is. Like, this game is way, and I mean way bigger than the other Pikmin games. I expected to finish it 100%, of course, because, you know, Pikmin we always 100%. I expected to finish it in like maybe 15 hours at most. This game is double that. Easy. This game is 30, 35 hours to 100%. If you're not 100%ing, you probably beat it in like 10 hours, but that is still way bigger than any of the other Pikmin games, which that blew me away. I was not expecting a big epic journey, but we have one and it's awesome. Like, I just have been absolutely in love with this game. Part of me really wants to put it as number one, but I'm afraid it might be the recency bias. I need to let this one cook and sit with me, but I have just been absolutely loving what this game has been putting down. The new Pikmin editions are great. The night missions are cool. These levels are vast. There's a ton of them. There's a ton to explore. The puzzles are great. The encounters are fun. The game isn't the most challenging, I will say that, but I do like what challenge it does pose. There's a bunch of fun throwbacks to Pikmin 2.
The game has a ton of personality and charm, something that isn't really seen these days in games. It feels like it's just so lovable. The atmosphere is great. It reminds me of the old ones. The game looks amazing. It looks fantastic. It might be the best looking Switch game of them all. I'm not even kidding. It runs on Unreal Engine 4. It looks amazing. Like, the presentation's great, the sound's great, the stability, the frame rate, all of that. It's just superb. Pikmin 4, if you like Pikmin at all, if you have any interest in the series, I absolutely think you should just go get it. Just go get it. It's totally worth it. This is easily a Game of the Year contender. I did not expect this game to hit so hard, but here we are. It absolutely does, and it's totally worth playing. And yeah, it very well might be my favorite Pikmin game. Give it some time. It could totally be my favorite. But here we have Pikmin 2, which I believe to be not only the best of the Pikmin games, but just one of the best games ever made. It's certainly one of my favorite games ever made, and at this point I'm convinced nothing will ever top it for me. The game takes place right after the first game. Olimar is able to return home, and he gets home to find out that the company he works for is in massive debt. But it turns out that a little souvenir he brought home from the planet is actually worth a ton of money, so the leader of the organization decides to send Olimar and his buddy Louie back to the planet to go find treasure. The setup of the game I think is just great. I love how the company is in crazy debt and they need as much money as possible, and so you just end up grabbing all these random trinkets all over the planet that is apparently worth money, and a lot of the treasure, air quotes, is stuff that we use every day in our lives, like Duracell batteries and spoons and forks and random shit. The game also totally doubles down on its world and setting and vibe that the first game created, and I just really adore it. I think it's fantastic. This game has an insane amount of charm and originality to it that is not present in most game series. It's great. It's actually just fantastic. And the gameplay really is the same story. They just absolutely doubled down on the gameplay from Pikmin 1 and improved it and expanded it. Now, the original Pikmin, I didn't really have any issues with it. There wasn't anything glaring about it, to be honest. But this game really expands everything. Not only are there a ton of levels to explore, but they introduce the caves. Every level has caves, and these caves, what they really are, they're dungeons. You go through these dungeons exploring, collecting treasure, and trying not to get all your Pikmin killed, and they're actually randomly generated for the most part, so you can go back to these caves and get pretty different experiences. And it was this is on the GameCube. This is crazy. The level design that isn't randomly generated, the stuff that's actually made, is just as good as the first games, if not better. It really plays to the Pikmin's strength, and the way that everything is set up is really nice. And now you have Louie to join you also, so you can have two different parties of Pikmin doing things at once. And just from the fact that you can split up the two characters and their Pikmin, a bunch of new puzzles are created that involve both of them and tons of different Pikmin. Speaking of Pikmin, the 3 from the first game return, but now we have 2 new ones. The purple ones, which are really heavy and count for a bunch of Pikmin, and then we have the white ones, which can go through poison. These add another layer to the gameplay and make things even more unique. They also introduce a couple sprays to the game where you can spray your Pikmin to make them more powerful, or spray enemies even. Again, adding more layers to the gameplay. And while you don't have a time limit in this game, there still is some pressure to make sure you get all your Pikmin back to the ship before the day ends, or they will die. Another thing that Pikmin 2 has that 1 had, but 3 doesn't really have, is this game's actually hard. This game will make you strategize, and there are some bosses in this game, particularly near the end of the game in the caves, that will just absolutely wipe the floor with you. They will just completely demolish you and your Pikmin. And as a kid, there were a couple times where some of these bosses, like the water dude on the rollers, he just completely wiped out my entire squad, and I lost everything. This game is not messing around, and I think that added level of pressure really makes up for the lack of time limit, because there is definitely some pressure being applied here, especially in the caves with the bosses, and I really appreciate that, and it really makes the game even more replayable. It is just as replayable as the first and third game, even without the time limit, and this game is way longer than both of those. I mean, sure, you could probably beat it real quick if you just get the amount you need and then that's it, but I would really recommend going for every single treasure. I think you'll get absolutely everything out of this game by going for every single treasure, except maybe the weight. But it's really good. And overall, Pikmin 2 is just a fantastic game. Like, I really can't express that enough. It's my favorite strategy game of all time, not even close. It's my favorite strategy game of all time. It's one of my favorite games on the GameCube, probably in my top 5. I have just an insane amount of memories with it. I share a lot of nostalgia with this game with a lot of my friends who also love the game. Like, there's just really nothing bad you could say about Pikmin 2. Like, find someone who dislikes Pikmin 2. I dare you. I dare you. Even if Pikmin 2 is not your favorite, we can all come together and agree that Pikmin is just a fantastic franchise. There's really no stinkers here outside of Hey Pikmin, and I think that they're all worth playing outside of course, Hey Pikmin. They're all on the Switch now, which is even better. Like, you can play them all on modern hardware and enjoy all of them, and they're just all fantastic games. If you haven't tried Pikmin and you made it to this part of the video, comment cement to let me know you made it to this part, as in what's in the ground, and I give you a nice heart, but also just go try Pikmin.